We like to think perception is a window onto reality, clear, direct, neutral. William James warns that it isn't. At first contact, experience arrives as a blooming, buzzing confusion. From this overload, the mind selects and organizes. Perception is not a copy. It's a construction guided by attention, expectation, and habit. If I learn how selection works, I can improve what I notice, reduce misreadings, and act with more precision. James ties perception to the stream of consciousness. The stream is continuous, but attention carves figures from the ground, this face in a crowd, this word on a page, this tone in a conversation. What we practice seeing becomes easier to see again. Habits of perception are like grooves. The water returns there automatically. That helps us function fast, but it also creates blind spots. We literally miss what we haven't trained ourselves to notice. Why do illusions grip us? James would say perception is a negotiation between incoming signals and prior patterns. Bottom-up input meets top-down expectation. In the Muller lines, the arrows biased our size judgments. In a noisy room, we hear the word we expected. In social life, a single label colors all later evidence. Illusions reveal the rules we rely on. Shortcuts that work most of the time, fail some of the time, and can be retrained with practice. Radical empiricism gives the ontological permission. Include what is actually given: sensations, feelings, and relations like contrast, continuity, and fit before rushing to theory. When I look at an object, the belonging of its shadow, the pull of its edges, the sense that it affords grasping are part of what appears. Naming those relations improves judgment. I'm less fooled by a photo trick, more sensitive to context, and quicker to test my first impression. Daily life changes when I apply this. In study, perception starts with preparing the target. If I pre-write a guiding question, the page organizes around it. The figure stands out from the ground. I read a small chunk, then produce a one-sentence recall. The act of producing sharpens the perceptual template for the next pass. In work, I define what a done slide looks like: headline plus proof plus consequence. So the eye hunts for those elements and ignores noise. In relationships, misperception often comes from top-down bias. If I enter a meeting convinced someone is hostile, my mind highlights every ambiguous cue as proof. A James-style pause helps notice the fringe, that halo of hints around focus, and label it. I'm primed to see threat. Then I collect disconfirming evidence on purpose. Perception widens, behavior softens, outcomes improve. For anxiety, the body primes perception toward danger. James Langer reminds us, body first, feeling follows. If I downshift physiology: longer exhale, softer shoulders, slower gaze, threat cues lose some grip. Then I test the scene. What am I actually seeing, hearing, touching? What objective changes after a tiny action? Open a window, send one message. The field often clarifies after the body calms and the eye resmolds. Practical protocol, James style, to see better. Begin with contact. 10 slow breaths while noticing edges, contrasts, and relations. This belongs with that. Set a target of attention, question, criterion, or debts. Perform a micro test. Move the object. Change the lighting. Ask one clarifying question. Describe the scene in your own words before adopting a label. Finally, review. Did my first impression survive the test? If not, what new cue will I watch for next time? Common traps and fixes. Overlabeling: I stick a name too soon gives fix. Postpone labels. Describe features first. Tunnel attention: I notice only what matches my goal gives fix. Add a deliberate scan for anomalies. Consensus trance: I see what the group says gives fix. Private observation first, group discussion after. Data without context, numbers float gives fix. Pair each metric with the situation it lives in. Perception improves with training. Photographers learn to see light, musicians timbre, clinicians subtle signs, negotiators the temperature of a room. James's promise is modest and powerful. You don't need perfect eyes, you need reliable procedures. Prepare a target, downshift the body, sample deliberately, and test before concluding. Over time, the grooves change. The world you see becomes richer, more accurate, and more helpful for action. We never escape selection, we learn to use it. Attention becomes a tool, not a tyrant. Habits become channels we chose, not cages we inherited. In James's spirit, perception is the craft of turning the blooming, buzzing confusion into a workable map one you redraw as reality teaches you.